it feels like we're going to be asking you much of the same questions we were asking you a month ago after the Hawthorn game. What's your take on how today panned out?
You have to remind me what those questions were, Rob.
Oh, just about, again, come up against another top 8 team and fall short.
Yeah, I know that's the narrative, but ultimately you can look at it in two different ways. In a really pessimistic way like that, or an optimistic way in that we put ourselves in a position where at least we're in the mix to give ourselves a chance, at the end of the year. But as far as the scoreline and the way the game played out and the history repeating itself against a pretty good team, yeah, I agree with you. It's our biggest disappointment this afternoon is how we started the game, the broken tackles and probably us not using the ball as we'd like to under pressure. So that really put us on the back foot. 30 entries to a team like Adelaide in the first half is just way too many. And then we tightened up and we were better in the second half as far as territory and what we were doing went, only giving them, that 22 entries. I mean, if we give them 44, we'd be content. But just as you've seen, though, way too many scoring shots from those opportunities. So when you try and isolate what that may be, their breakdowns in contest, even though we won contested possession, didn't feel like we were on top of that. I was surprised that on the stat sheet, they only took that many contested marks. It seemed like they took a lot more. So in the aerial game, we definitely lowered our colours. But ultimately, the three inside sort of real leaders in Marcus and Tom and Ed trying to will us over the line. We just didn't have enough today to complement their influence. And so, yeah, look, we've got some challenges, but I remain optimistic that we can continue to improve. But under the circumstances, it's a pretty disappointing afternoon against who we see as a really good side.
In terms of nullifying their influence, did you feel like you were a key defender short at times? 3 very potent forwards in the Adelaide forward line can be hard to stop aerially at times.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think if you go and look at what happened in all those instances, it was usually a key back on a key forward where they were marking. So, you make the case either way as to can the key back do a little bit better in preparation. When it broke down up the field, was that too fluent, that ball movement? Was it too hard to stop? And so it played into their key forward's hands, so he'd go either way. But yeah, Rolly Dilthorpe in particular was a bit of a, sort of colossus down there. He was strong and we couldn't negate him well enough at all. So, I know what the speculation is around how many, key backs you play and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, our game and our system and our optimism around plays coming up to speed on how we want to play remains, and so we can show it. I didn't feel at any time this afternoon comfortable. I didn't feel like we played that well, and yet we scored 98 points. And as we're talking, we gave up way too much strike rate as far as their opportunities go. So there's a lot to tidy up, but we've got to start the game better than that.
You said pre-game that Norton to kick 5, Bontempelli to have 37 and you'd win contested possession. You'd probably be pretty happy with that. Is it the next layer that you're talking about in terms of getting the best out of other players?
Yeah, we've had games, the Sydney game was probably a prime example where at the end of that game we're singing Joel Frazier's praise, we're singing Riley Sanders' praise, Lockie Bramble, probably the guys who we're asking to find their next level. In that game, the lads you mentioned weren't necessarily that prolific. And but, doesn't matter which team it is, if you don't get a really even spread of the players' best contributions, you're going to be vulnerable. We had way too many that probably weren't at their best this afternoon, and so we've got to pick them up and encourage and urge and recover pretty quickly. Because we've got to go to the Gabba on Thursday and prepare for a really important game against the Lions, but look to get a much better spread of contribution in the next one. Otherwise, we're going to have our backs against the wall against the Lions.
How pleased are you with Norton's rejuvenation, I suppose, on the scoreboard in the last few weeks? And what did you think of his? You were on the screen with his miss there.
I was on the screen, was I? Yeah, look, we had our moments there, but so did the Crows. I mean, there were a couple of monumentals where there's sort of almost walk-ins, and Norts usually would kick that. When you're looking for a bit of momentum, it was one of those ones where we're coming and another goal just a bit closer, and you get a bit of a look at it. We had a couple of those moments. So, but yeah, he was influential. When you're talking about their key forwards, I think he was a pretty big handful for their backs. So he's going reasonably well, Norts.
Any injuries, Luke? Clean bill of health?
I think we're okay. Yeah, I think we've come through reasonably unscathed at this, as far as I know. Thanks, everyone. Ta.